I'm always fascinated by old photos of Chicago, especially when I know exactly where something is and I can see what decades have done to an area. So I set out today to recreate a few of these photos from the C. William Brubaker collection from the 1960s through the 1980s. So, first up is the Anti-Cruelty Society in River North off of LaSalle in 1985. You can see that not a ton has changed in the structure itself and some of the nearby buildings, but the background is dotted with quite a few nice modern skyscrapers, and you can no longer see the Willis Tower. Next up, this is at Chicago and Franklin in 1968. With the Hancock Center being such an icon, it's easy to forget that there was a time before it. Obviously, you can no longer see it from this view, and lots more modern skyscrapers on either side. Then the Carson Peary Scott store in 1962 on State Street. Most people will probably know this one as the Target. I don't know what Carson Peary Scott is, though. But the building hasn't changed too much, and I think that is definitely a good thing. Very interesting. Now over to Oak Street, seen from Michigan in 1976. This was hardly recognizable to me at first glance without the skyscrapers along Michigan, although the Esquire sign is still there if you look. Pretty interesting change. This is Ontario Street from Michigan in 1976, the obvious landmark being what is now Bolly's Casino at the end over there. And overall, the architecture seems slightly more updated and much less depressing from the 70s. This is what's called the Gage Group buildings off of Michigan in 1962. Fairly similar. There are more trees blocking the view, so I got closer to see the architecture. Notice the two middle buildings used to not be the same height, but now they are. That's really interesting, and a new modern skyscraper in the background. Now, this is the very eastern section of the Chicago River looking out at the lake from 1972. It's probably the most dramatic change I saw. I wasn't even able to get in the same spot to see Lake Point Tower. This is all high-rise buildings now on both sides of the river, standing on top of a couple layers of Wacker Drive. Now, this is the infamous Thompson Center in the Loop from 1983. I personally think this building looked awesome in this time period. Currently under construction, so that's why you're seeing exposed metal everywhere. No Burger King or Greyhound bus station. One of the more disappointing changes in 2024. This is Michigan Avenue from the rail yards in 1968. I personally think the Coke sign is pretty cool. But with Millennium Park being there, this is close to the view you have with all the trees, so I had to get closer. The architecture is somewhat similar with some of these older buildings surrounding Michigan, but there are plenty more additional things filling in the gaps. And this is the Water Tower off of Michigan in 1970. Overall, quite a few more towers in the background, some more trees. I prefer the current look for sure. I never knew that it used to be bright green on top. I think that's pretty interesting. And this is North and Wells from 1978. The Walgreens is still a very prominent landmark. And this one actually has had very minimal changes to it. There's an extra skyscraper in the background, some paint color changes, but overall very similar since that time period. And this one is Staring Down the Chicago River from Michigan in 1984. The most obvious change being the ugly Sun Times building changed to the Trump Hotel. You can also see the Thompson Center in the old photo from the back and the side, which does not look nearly as good as the front from the other photo we saw. And finally, last but not least, the Staten Lake L Station in 1982. The old photo actually looks super clean, super cool, with this old bus stop as well. But now it just looks very faded, and the red line entrance looks very dirty. Overall, thanks for watching.